Oh, my goodness. Thank you. So here I'm back again, and now I'm here to talk to you. And I'm grateful that I'm here. Very grateful. Because I don't really share this with a lot of people, but for about 20 years before I came here, I had a chronic illness. And I don't tell a lot of people this. And this center helped me cure that chronic illness. And so I have so much gratitude for this center. And the illness that I had was pessimism. That was my illness. That was my disease. Yeah, big pessimism. I felt kind of like disconnected from everything, very hollowed out inside, no faith whatsoever. Didn't really have a strong belief in spirit or God, whatever you want to call it. I kind of was really disconnected from that. And I really didn't see much hope for my life because I just had made some very poor decisions that had led me to a place of not feeling creative or having any kind of impulse to move in any direction that might be meaningful. But then I came here, and I saw this quote. There is a power for good in the universe, and you can use it. So imagine, I'm sitting in your chair, really kind of funky and negative inside, not quite sure where I'm going in life, and this bad boy pops up. There is a power for good in the universe, and you could use it. At first, I thought, is this like superheroes time? There's a power for good in the universe, and you can use it. I didn't know what to think of this. But it kept coming to me. I couldn't stop thinking about it. A power for good, because I was so in a power for bad. That's where my focus was. I didn't see all this possibility for good that was there. And so this quote woke me up to see that I had been very, very misled inside of myself, that I had come to believe something that was not the truth about who I am, and that there was this whole other reality waiting for me to step into so I can use this power for good in my own life and create whatever reality I want to create. And so my next slide is this. How to use this power, because that's a big deal. So we know there's this power for good in the universe. How the heck do we start to use this power? Well, I figured out a few steps. The first step is this. Be willing to change. This is really big, because when we're talking about our lives and really wanting new stuff to come into our lives, there's this little secret that we don't really tell anybody about. And that is that you have to change if you want this to change. And that can really rub us the wrong way because, we don't like to change ourselves. It's just kind of a natural thing. We like to stay in who we are, in our belief systems, because they're very, very familiar to us. And so when we're pulled in a direction, we're saying, well, you got to be willing to change. Sometimes we can freeze up. And I know for myself and many of you out there that you don't change until there's a dark night of the soul, because you're tired of holding on to your identity as it was because it's gotten you nowhere, and you're willing to let it go. You're willing because suffering has just come to a place where you're done. And so you're willing to open up to being maybe a little different on the inside, maybe seeing things a little differently, maybe believing something a little bit differently about you, to be able to see who you are beyond your experiences and your decisions and the highs and the lows and just all that stuff, and come to a place of seeing yourself as this pure, infinite potential of creative energy that really yearns to come out to play here in this reality that we share in. And so number 2 is get quiet daily. I know so many people, just when I say meditate, they roll their eyes at me, and I'm sorry. But meditation is awesome. I think it's how we approach it. We must approach it naturally and comfortably. You don't have to go sit on your pillow for a half an hour and don't think anything, and if you don't do it that way, you're out. You can't do it. I'm telling you, meditation can take a second, a minute, 10 minutes. It's something that, and let's just not call it meditation. Maybe let's just call it what I said, get quiet. Get quiet time. Like we tell kids, time out, right? When kids are naughty, time out. Let's give ourselves a time out. And all you have to do is go within and just breathe. Just breathe. Take a moment. Do you have a question out there? Absolutely. I'm going to get there right now with that. I love interaction. Thank you. So, and I'll weave that in just a moment. So this getting quiet daily, to come within and tune out the outside world, tune out the stimulation, put the phone and all that, just no stimulation whatsoever coming from the outside world. I spoke about the transcendentalists when I did the religions, and how they taught us about finding your intuition, opening up that channel for that inner flow of information, of intelligence, of love, of life, of creativity. When we open up to that, then life gets really cool, because we're tapping into something that's innate to us, that's unique to us individually, that we have a hard time connecting to when we're in our busyness and our connections with others. So that's why getting quiet daily allows that intuition to open up, so that we can see new information that we didn't know about ourselves, or an epiphany, something new. And to answer your question, absolutely. I use music when I meditate. I love that. Quiet music is great. Tai Chi, movement. And I'm going to just out my man here, Reverend William, because I love this about you. His form of meditation is riding his motorcycle, riding his Harley. I think it's different now. It's probably doing that other thing you do now, your Jeep thing. But it used to be the Harley. And, you know, we gave him such a hard time in practitioner class when Dr. Laura and I were teaching him, because we'd say, William, that's not meditation. William, that's not meditation. You need to be sitting down, put the timer on, be quiet. And he would just, he's very defiant. I know you haven't noticed that about him. But he's very defiant. And boy, that was a fun year, 2 years or whatever it was. Oh, my God. Exhausting. Oh, but now look at him. But he fought us on that. And one day, Reverend William and I were having a conversation about the meditation and the Harley. And I got it after I talked to him, because he said, Dale, yeah, I'm not closing my eyes. I'm not sitting on the pillow. My timer's not on. I'm not in the closet. No, he goes, this is what I am. He said, I am one with the whole world. I am not thinking. Well, yeah, there's a sort of thinking going on because he's on his bike, but he goes, but I'm not really consciously in that. He goes, I'm feeling freedom. I'm feeling the expansion of my soul. I am feeling just so in harmony with all of life. And I had to give it up, because how do you argue that? You can't. You can't argue that. And that's why I think it's so important for us to find that quiet in our own unique way, because I'm going to tell you, I think you all have it already there in your life. So my invitation to you is to expand it a bit. Do that more, so that you can get in that energy of life that really is yearning to be lived through all of us. That creative love, that energy, that intelligence wants us to say yes, so it can come forward as you and you and you and you. Because, I always say this, I think every week I'm up here, is that you've got to be who you are. You have to be who you are, because not only are you living in your truth and your beautiful uniqueness, you're adding to the world, because we need to be reflecting differences to each other. I think that's a beautiful thing. We don't want to be all the same, right? We want to be different, because we feed each other and we learn from each other, and we find new aspects of ourselves that we don't know exist until someone new comes in our life as this different person touches something inside of us, and we realize, I am that too. I am that Harley motorcycle driver too. I am that. I am Dr. Laura and Adair. We are all each other. And so step 3, might as well get there, identify as that power. And this is a tough one, I know, for a lot of us, because if we're just feeling so low and that we're not that, we're not all that, we haven't gotten there with ourselves, this is the goal for you, I would like to say, is to be able to start feeling that you are that power, that you are that wonderful, that you do possess inside of yourself such immense power and such immense creativity and life within you all. And start to identify that little by little. I'm not saying that you need to say, I am God, because I know that's tough. I know some people find that a really good thing to say, and it works for them. But I know it doesn't work for all of us, and I'm okay with that. But say whatever you need to say, where you activate that spirit that you are and identify it, because it is who you are. And so when we can do these 3 steps, and there's more steps. I could have made this 20 steps, to be honest with you, but I really didn't want to bore you to death. So I made it 3, nice and easy. So you just try these 3 steps, and I think you're going to be able to find that you are able to use that power more effectively in your life. And so my next slide is this. This is actually my talk title. It's what is and what could be. Because what is happening in front of us in this world, in this physical reality that we're in. And I know some of that what is, we prefer not to be in the what is, right? Because life happens, right? People get sick. We have problems with prosperity. We hear a loved one who's suffering. Things happen in this life. And I know for me, I'm going through something right now, and that what is kind of murky and kind of scary at times. But I have to remember, that's what is, but I know what could be because I know about the power of good to use in my life to create my next what is, which is better than my current what is. That's a power that we all have. We have this what is temporary. This what is doesn't have to keep going and going and going when we know what could be. What we know what could be. And my next slide will help us in figuring that out. This is spiritual alchemy. I wrote a blog this week. You can see it on our website. And it's called Spiritual Alchemy. I think alchemy is a really cool idea. And there's alchemy, if you don't know what it is, it was a medieval practice, kind of like magic. And the idea was that you can turn like base metals into gold, which sounds pretty miraculous. And I don't know if people really did it or not. There's some skepticism around that, so I don't know. But a lot of people have coined this term spiritual alchemy by using that medieval idea of turning something very base into something golden. And we are all spiritual alchemists, and it's time for us to do that. I wrote about this time in my life where I was in a job, and something happened at my job, and I was asked to leave because I refused to do what they wanted me to do. So they said, well, let you resign, and so I resigned and moved on. And I was a lot younger than I am now, and I was telling my mom about it. My mom, I loved my mom, but sometimes she says, Dale, you really should not leave a job when you don't have a new one, right? So that's in my head, this whole, oh, God, Mom, couldn't something a little inspiring would have been better, like, you'll find a new one. No, that's not where we went. Anyways, I went there, though. I went there. I cried, I had a pity party, yes, I did all that, but I knew what could be. I knew what was as that ending of a job that was a total bummer, but I knew what could be. And so after I dried my eyes and started realizing that to stay there wasn't going to get me to where I wanted to be. And so I did come to the center, but I wasn't taking classes. So I was already in the philosophy. So I already had these truths coming into my consciousness. So I was able to work with them in the way I could. And so I just realized and got into that intuitive channel of mine. And it said, you're not going to be unemployed for very long. And I didn't know where that came from. I was like, where did that voice come from? But I listened to it, and that voice gave me big strength. And it allowed me to say, okay, I know I'm here. I know I have, I don't know where I'm going with the job. I need to get money for rent and food. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I know what could be. And so I just realized I could get a better job than that one. Wow. I realized that was a possibility. I realized that I didn't necessarily have to pound the pavement and be exhausted by the end of the day to find this new job. I just sat in that energy of saying, you know what? Something really cool could happen here. Well, something cool did happen. 2 days after I left that job, I got a phone call from the human resources of the company I just left. Go figure, right? I just had all this weird stuff with them, and they're calling me. They're calling me to tell me that they have a great job opportunity for me for a law firm that they do business with. They said that they had called them and said, do you know anybody that can do this type of work? And the HR director said, oh, God, I got the perfect person for you. So I went for an interview, we fell in love with each other, and I was hired the next day. And to this day, I still do work for them, and that's 20 years later. 20 years later. 20 years, that's a long time. But I wasn't sitting in the what is. I said, what could be, and look what I brought in. Just like spiritual alchemy, right? I had this really tough situation, and I put all this spiritual wisdom on it, and it turned to gold. And my next slide is this. The real alchemy is transforming the base self into gold or into spiritual awareness. And this is exactly what I did. I didn't sit in the base fear and the agony and the anxiety and the helplessness and the I'm not good enough stuff. I didn't sit in that. What I did was I turned myself into gold by realizing who I am, by realizing what was possible. It wasn't in physical reality, but it was in my consciousness. It was in my energy. I knew what was possible because I know this is a spiritual world, a spiritual universe. And when I'm in that knowing, the amazing happens, and it did. And my next slide is all about the imagination and the power of the imagination, because you know what? That's where this all happens. The imagination is huge, people. It's huge. And we must use it because it creates our life experience. Everything I did with my job thing, it was done in my imagination. Because the imagination is beyond the what is. The imagination allows us to go up into this field of unlimited possibilities, of creative potential, of things we did not know were possible. Because a lot of this stuff of what is, the possibilities aren't showing up yet. But we've got to activate our imagination and say, I am ready to know what's possible. I may not know in this moment. That's okay. That's okay. I know we think we have to know. People, you don't. You just have to know what can be. And so when we use our imagination and tap into the creative possibilities, the imagination is energized. Our bodies are energized. And what quantum physics is telling us and what Ernest Holmes has been telling us is there is a law of attraction going on here, right? Whatever I am emulating and radiating, that energy, that is what comes back to me. And so when my imagination is being used in such a constructive, creative way, because yes, we can use our imagination in not so constructive things, but when we use that imagination in constructive, positive, life-affirming, self-affirming ways, we are activating our energy to create a really great life for ourselves. And my next slide is this. This book is it's been like on my Facebook feed. I haven't read it in years. It's The Afterlife of Billy Fingers. Anybody read that book? The Afterlife of, oh my God, it is such a good book. It's got extraordinary truth in it. I'm not gonna do a sales pitch for it, but it's great. So in the book, there's this quote, "A shift in perspective makes the particles of the universe dance to new possibilities." And this is exactly what I was saying, right? You have a shift of perspective. You no longer dwell in the what is, and you see what can be. You are shifting your mind, you're shifting your imagination, you're shifting your energy you're putting out there, and the particles of the universe dance to new possibilities. So we just have to allow ourselves to have that faith before that actually arrives in our physical reality. But just remember that we are alchemists, we are quantum physicists, we are metaphysic beings that are creating all the time through our energy. And when we wake up to that and start using that mindfully, you can create anything in your life. And my last slide is this. I know you guys might know, a lot of you know I'm Jewish. And every once in a while, I bring out a quote from the New Testament. My ancestors, I'm so sorry, but there's some great truth there. There's some great truth. Give it to me. Oh my God, right? But there is, especially quotes about faith. I love the quotes about faith that are in the New Testament. They're just really yummy. So I brought this one to you today. It says, "So we fix our eyes not on what is seen, but what is unseen. For what is seen is temporary," right? Temporary. "But what is unseen is eternal," right? It's eternal. That didn't hurt too bad for those of you that are Jewish out there, did it? It didn't hurt me. Anyways, yeah, this is the crux of the matter. This is it. This is the bottom line right here. The unseen. We got to start trusting the unseen, right? The unseen is not empty. The unseen is rich. It is powerful. It is abundant. And it is everywhere present, right? It is everywhere present, and it acts upon our belief, our consciousness, our energy. So that's where we have to be really mindful of what we're thinking and what we're believing and what we're radiating into this world, because that's what's coming forward. So let's stop creating from this world, from the what is. Let's start creating from what can be, from the massive creative energy that yearns to be expressed by you and me and the entire world. So let us create from that place going forward. Thank you. Namaste.